Ruth Ellis, the last woman to be hung in Britain. Despite the media portrayal of a clear-cut open and shut case, on closer examination we find a sinister conspiracy still being protected 65 years on. Ruth was convicted for the murder of ex-public schoolboy David Blakely, reported to have been her lover, though sources state that he was homosexual. Shooting him dead with a .38 Smith & Wesson revolver outside the Magdala public house in Hampstead, London, on the evening of 10th of April 1955, after which she did not flee the scene, and according to the official story, calmly turned to her slaughtered lover's friend, Clive Gunnell, who had been drinking prior to the event with the now deceased man in the Magdala public house, and told him to call the police. Following a rushed trial that lasted a mere 2 days, with a lack of ballistic and forensic evidence, the young woman of 28 was sentenced to death by hanging. Her defence offered little opposition to the prosecution counsel, failing even to question the plausibility that their client was even capable of firing the murder weapon, the large .38 Smith & Wesson revolver, a man-sized gun in the hand of a 5'2" tall, 7-stone woman with one hand incapacitated as a result of contracting rheumatic fever when she was 15. Still, the jury were led to believe that Ruth would have been able to fire off 6 rounds with acute accuracy, with no effect on the recoil. But there was far more involved in the organising of Ruth Ellis's guilt. "I knew nothing of the background, and I didn't care," were the words of prosecuting counsel Christmas Humphreys. But was it a case that he was uninterested, or rather, as it certainly seems on closer inspection, working with her defence at the Old Bailey to see her hang? This woman who, along with her best friend, Vicky Martin, who was killed earlier that year in a suspicious car accident, was apparently being pimped by notorious spy Stephen Ward, famously linked to the 1963 Profumo affair scandal, a society osteopath with high-profile clientele such as the Duke of Edinburgh and Winston Churchill. Ruth, who it is documented was being physically abused, had been working as the manageress of the Little Club in Knightsbridge from 1953, with such clientele that included many close friends of both the Duke of Edinburgh and Winston Churchill, along with Hollywood actors such as Burt Lancaster and Danny Kaye. Numerous sources have linked all 4 of these men and other guests of the Little Club with paedophile activity. It is also interesting to note, prior to being groomed and pimped by Stephen Ward, Ruth had apparently been raped by her father as a child and was sending much of the money she was earning back to her parents. In 1969, Ruth's mother, Berta Nielsen, was found by her eldest daughter Muriel, unconscious in a gas-filled room. Was she wishing to end her life, or was it an attempt to suicide her, or just an accident? Whatever the events in her flat in Hemel Hempstead that day, she did not speak coherently again. But what is intriguing was a notebook Ruth's sister Muriel said she found in their mother's handbag, hidden in a drawer, containing the names and contact details of many prolific British spies, going back as far as 1932. Ruth and Muriel's parents certainly had interesting friends. Important to note here that numerous sources have documented links between the corporate establishment's intelligence services, such as MI5, MI6, Mossad and the CIA, with child trafficking and the running of elite paedophile rings. It is interesting also to point out that this woman, repeatedly portrayed for almost 70 years as a cold-hearted peroxide blonde prostitute, had quit her job at the Little Club a short time before it was decided to assassinate David Blakely, and it would appear on closer inspection set Ruth Ellis up for the killing. The judicial farce, the media charade and the years of misdirection have hidden the identity of not only the real murderer, but those involved in the conspiracy and the motive for killing David Blakely and Ruth Ellis. If the case was as straightforward as we were led to believe, Then why are records to the case being held from public view until at least 2031? What is being hidden? The need for secrecy again appears to be more about protecting the corporate establishment and their paedophile rings and its involvement in espionage than the relatives of the case. Ruth Ellis's son allegedly killed himself at the age of 38 in 1982 whilst investigating the events of his mother's crime and trial. And her sister Muriel Jacobate to this day maintains that Ruth was innocent. We are not talking conspiracy theories here, because when we take the time to examine the cases and events for ourselves, what we find are solid facts of an actual conspiracy.